Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Burke County Board of Commissioners pre-agenda meeting for Tuesday, January the 2nd, 2024 at 3 p.m. Madam Clerk, all commissioners are present, along with our county finance officer, attorney, and manager also present. Let me remind you to silence your mobile devices if you haven't already done so. And remind all speakers coming to the lectern to please be sure your microphone is on so that we can hear you and that we get a good recording and good YouTube presentation. This time, gentlemen, you have item number 2, approval of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. All those in favor indicate with uplifted hand. Did you uplift Mr. Carter? Thank you. I'll be that. That's all of us, Madam Clerk. We have several presentations today. First one comes from Animal Services, Brother Mutz. Caitlin, afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thanks so much for having us back for another month, the first month of 2024. We're very excited. We're doing some really great things at Animal Services. So we will be presenting a cat and a dog to you guys and just kind of updating you on what we've got going on at Animal Services.
All right, thank you, Kate. Any questions? No objections. That item will remain on the agenda. Thank you, Kate.
Thanks.
Item number 2 comes from Partners Health Management. This is the follow-up report. This will be presented by Paul Holden with the Regional Director of Community Operations with Partners. Afternoon, sir.
Mr. Chair, thank you, Commissioners. I won't make this long in this return visit, but one of the things that I think when I came here in December, or November, I forget, December, I should have just kind of mentioned briefly about Partners, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what Partners is. And so in the state, there are 4 now, as of yesterday, there are 4 local management entities, managed care organizations, and they're public agencies that Medicaid funds come through the state. And the major idea behind them is to have a predictable Medicaid budget for the state. So what Partners ends up doing is contracting with agencies in each of their locations, counties, and has a set elements in the contract so that it's predictable about the money that's going to be spent. Without that kind of process, Medicaid could be all over the place, and the state could be left with a huge fund, a huge bill at the end of the year. So that's the idea behind it. Each of the 4 MCOs currently just deals with mental health, substance use, and intellectual disabilities. Sometime this spring, theoretically July 1st, then its tailored plan will come into effect, and then we'll also deal with physical health and pharmacy. So the idea is really to behind tailored plan is kind of pull together for any Medicaid member all the different elements of what they need to have proper health care, both physical and mental health. But that's not going to start till later. And so currently we just work with behavioral health issues. So I guess I would just say the Partners is kind of like a general contractor. We contract with agencies so that they can provide services, and then there'd be Medicaid reimbursement. I think the misnomer that goes out there is that somehow we're providing direct services. The MCOs do not provide direct services. Now what we do have is in our agency, we do have care managers who are like social workers, who are social workers, who work with families and members to kind of help them through the process, because Medicaid and, as you know, mental health and physical health process is complicated. And so the idea is for us to help direct them and make recommendations to them. Now, we can't make anybody do anything. We wouldn't want to do that. We want a family to make a good decision for themselves about what they want to do. So just kind of wanted to make that point that I think sometimes people feel like Partners is providing direct services in behavioral health, and we are not. That is not our mission. For Partners, we have currently 14 counties, and as of February 1st, we're going to have an additional one. Davidson County is going to be added to that, so we have 15 counties. So Burke is our most westernmost county with Rutherford, and then we go east from there, and most of the middle of the state. for the places that we serve. The reason for the savings, well, one, to help the states save money, but also then the money can be reinvested. And so one aspect of that is we could put back in and develop a mobile crisis unit, which is a unit that's able to come out here to Burke County, or is in Burke County, and comes out to for kids, for anybody that's having a behavioral health crisis. So that's the idea behind that. Certain services are not reimbursable by Medicaid. The jail services that this county commission funds are ones that are not reimbursable by Medicaid, which is the reason why all of our counties, we go to county commission for jail services, because we think in many circumstances that's the starting point for many people who might have substance use issues or mental health issues. And so we appreciate the Burke County Board for helping with that. So I did want to respond to, so I had two questions when I was here last time. Commissioner Carswell asked me about who are the providers and what services do they provide. And so I put together a small little thing that I sent to you all. I think the thing to remember about that is that that's not an exhaustive list of every agency in Burke, because if you want to pay cash for a service, you can do that. For people who have regular insurance for mental health issues, they pay through their insurance. We just pay for behavioral health through Medicaid, folks who are eligible for Medicaid. So it's a smaller portion, so it's not everybody in Burke County. So I just kind of want to make that point to you. So I provided you with a list. I didn't know if you had any additional questions about that, Commissioner Carswell or anybody. I guess one of the things I could, off the top of my head, if I could just highlight one, it's the Burke Council on Alcoholism. They more commonly referred to as Burke Recovery here. And they provide a whole range of services for folks, particularly the Flynn Recovery Home that's associated with them. They have a facility for 8 men to be able to work on substance use issues for up to 9 months and sometimes longer, but they're able to live there and be able to deal with the issues that they have. A larger part of one of the things that the Burke Recovery does is they lead a community collaborative, which I think is kind of important for you all to know, because I don't think it comes back to you all the time. It's called the Burke Substance Abuse Network, and so partners and everybody under the sun here who's in an agency, a helping agency with mental health, substance use, intellectual disabilities in this community, meets together with that group once a month. And so that's where we come together and collaborate, and I think that comes up a lot of the time about agencies communicating with each other and who's doing this and why are you doing this when we're doing this. And so I think a lot of creative ideas come out of that group, and so I just want you all to know that meets once a month, the last Friday of every month. So those are the issues with that. I guess the other thing then, the other question, Commissioner Burns, you asked me about identifying the substance use issues, and so that's what this was put down on your, if you all didn't see that. Now the totals are on there. If you look at the schematic that's at the bottom of the page, bottom of the front page, it talks about that those are just numbers of people who have been identified and worked within the last 13 months in Burke County by an agency that reimburses for Medicaid for substance use. So I'm trying to tell you that it's a smaller, this isn't everything that's going on in Burke, but it's a pretty good snapshot, I would tell you. So if you look at the bottom of that, you can see opioid dependence is actually the largest. And that's I worked out the percentages, 33% of all those who go for substance use consideration is opioid issues. 25% is for stimulants. And so just, there are many stimulants, but just on a general basis, medications for ADHD are stimulants that people take out of prescription medication and use them without proper verification. Cocaine is a stimulant, and actually nicotine is a stimulant too. So it could be any of those, part of those 25% that here on this number is 59 of the total of 231. And then the other one is alcohol dependence. So those are the folks that that these agencies in Burke have worked with over the past year. Are there any questions about that?
anybody in Burke County can go to either one of these entities you have identified here and get treatment. Is that correct?
Yes.
So the services that you're providing mainly deal with taking care of the Medicaid portion of that?
Mm-hmm.
Did these people use Medicaid on their own to go to these entities and get assistance?
Well, we help determine who's eligible for Medicaid in this county. That's one element of it. So there are different ways that you can be eligible when there are, it's called standard plans, so there are 4 of those for Burke. But majority of folks who we find eligible can use any one of those services.
Do you identify the people in the county that's eligible and contact them saying you are eligible, or does the person have to come to you?
They have to come. That's the same thing in Medicaid expansion. The state talks about 600,000 people being eligible. Well, you can be eligible, but you have to apply to be a Medicaid member. And if you don't do that, we don't know that. Otherwise, you're out there in the world and we don't know that. So you have to apply. But then we will tell you if you're eligible or not.
Do you feel like we do a good job, you and us, in getting the information out to people to know that Partners is there for assistance?
No. I'll just tell you that. I
agree.
I think this is Medicaid such a complicated process that just trying to get the information of that. Even some of the things I was talking about here when I started today, it's just it's so complicated. We got to keep working at it. I don't think, but we've tried. Our marketing department's tried to do a good job with Medicaid expansion of getting the word out to as many folks as they can and to all the agencies so that they have information for folks. The state's done a good job of creating information that we give to people and say, here, give to your friends, anybody else you think that might be interested in this.
Would I be out of line if I said I think the state is actually putting extra burdens because they're kind of pushing us down to maybe 4 different places across the state instead of the expanded that we have before?
Well, there's 2 different parts to that. You're not going to work with 6 agencies, you're going to work with 4, but they're not contracting services. So one of the things that on the information that I sent you, if you saw it on the back, I think I put it in yellow, is that there's agencies that are located here in Burke, but there are services that aren't in Burke that we send people to. And some are in Catawba, and some are across the 15 counties that we have that they need a little bit more intensive work that aren't here. We do that with all 15 counties. So, and then if we can't do it here in those 15 counties, then we send them across the state. And so, I think the reason for the contraction or the consolidation to 4 agencies was so that county commissions and the legislature could feel like those agencies are more responsive, not less responsive. So my hope would be when I come back to you again at some point that you feel we're more responsive. But I know that what's out there in the community, and that with this kind of information, sometimes it's just it's difficult to spread the word, and I hope we can do a good job with it.
I do appreciate you putting together this information. It is good information, and I just think we need to do a little bit better job letting people know what Partners is about, what it's there for, and how that they can utilize the Medicaid expansion, because we went through a long period of time to get Medicaid expansion. We need to take advantage of it.
I absolutely agree with you, sir. Okay.
Any other questions, Mr. Paul? Paul, if I'm a citizen and think I need one of these services, and I call Partners, what's the process for me to?
Well, we have a 1-800 number that I don't have in front of me because we just changed it this year. But for the folks that answer that phone call, you say, this is what I need. I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that, I need this service. And they can tell people here in Burke County, there are these 3 that provide this service in this county, and you can try any one of these 3. I mean, that's the idea behind it.
So at that point, would you guys determine if I'm a Medicaid person, or would that be determined once I go to one of these agencies?
No, that would be beforehand. We would tell you, well, let's see if you're Medicaid eligible. Here's the process for going about that. Let's try and make that as easy as we can on you, and then we'll get back to you and let you know.
Thank you. Other questions?
Okay?
All right, thank you very
All right,
much.
thank you very much.
Without objection, this item will remain on the agenda. Item number 3, Parks and Recreation Subcommittee regarding trail and park projects. This will be presented by Alan Klein, our Deputy County Manager and Planning Director. Good afternoon, Alan.
Good afternoon, Chairman Britton, Vice Chair Mulway, Commissioners. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, I guess we're at now. We're happy to bring an update for parks and recreation activities to you all. And to do that, I'm going to introduce Sarah Shaban, who's our new park and trail, really a trail planner. And she joined us in June of last year to help coordinate those activities for Burke County. Our subcommittee has been meeting since Mr. Epley came on board here, and we've made a lot of progress this year, so thanks for that effort from a team of Burke County staff as well. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. If I could please have the presentation up. Thank you. All right. Thank you for the opportunity to present some updates to you. It is a pleasure to be here. To get us started, I wanted to bring in the focus area 1 of community advancement of the Board of Commissioners strategic plan. Parks and trails are aligned with the Board of Commissioners focus area of community advancement, as trails are a wonderful opportunity to initiate a cultural capital. This makes us a community of choice by providing a thriving environment to live, work, and play. The Parks and Recreation Subcommittee has 8 members that meet as a cross-division group every 6 weeks, as Mr. Glines mentioned, to review progress, combine resources, and evaluate ways to implement plans better in alignment with the Board of Commissioners strategic plan. These 8 members include myself, Sarah Shaban, Mr. Epley, Mr. Glines, Mr. McGee, Mr. Neeft, Ms. Pierce, Mr. Sandow, and Mr. Chart. I'd like to mention 3 funding sources that are mostly for trails. These are not as a reflection of the subcommittee's budget, but these are focused primarily for trails. We have a state and federal funding pot of $385,000. We have the county CIP allocated funds of $2.2 million to be used from 2023 to 2025. We also work very closely with our program partners, Friends of Fauna Flora State Trail and Over Mountain Victory. Referenced is the Friends of Fauna Flora State Trail budget of $724,500 for the year. The goals of this presentation are to review accomplishments of the county and our program partners, to provide updates from the Parks and Recreation Subcommittee. I'd also like the opportunity to renew consensus on the work plan, as well as provide an updated alignment for the project approach. This will allow us to guide and provide context for annual budget requests, provide information to the public by posting this presentation on our website, as well as this being a living document, so we will be able to provide updates to the community as opportunities and constraints may arise. Starting us off with a review of accomplishments, it's been a really exciting 2022-2023 year for us. The Harris-Wisnet Trailhead parking lot bid was awarded and construction has been underway. This is the current terminus of the Fauna Flora Trail that is closest to the city of Morganton. This will provide 7 parking spots at a minimum and 1 ADA spot. Next is Canal Bridge. This project funding is shared 3 ways with the Over Mountain Victory Historic Trail and Friends of Fauna Flora. This represents a community effort to provide a safe crossing and valuable link in connecting state park parcels. We are awaiting a final construction document to be provided by Mattern & Craig engineering firm that will be reviewed through NCDOT's districts and structures office. Once that is reviewed in a process of 60 to 90 days within their internal procedures, we will undergo an MOU process with NCDOT. Through that, it will be managed and released as a project with the state. They are cautious of lane closures during the summertime on a bridge in a very popular boating area. So they will be considering lane and traffic patterns. So this implementation could be early spring or fall The Lake James Camping Resort and Marina easement was recorded with 0.8 miles of trail designated ready to be built. The county also concurred on the location of the Patty's Creek Trail easement below the dam surveyed by the State Historic Preservation Office. Once this is approved, Duke Energy will assign the easement to Burke County. We can't get a lot of our work done without some of our program partners. So the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission, in partnership with them, the Watermill boating access area was updated with some really great improvements of a boat ramp. And the Pisgah Game Lands Forest Restoration Project has been underway for quite some time through a temporary MOU, and they will be developing a beautiful overlook to Lake James from that area where the last of the Mohicans scene overlooking the lake was filmed. In partnership with Over Mountain Victory State Trail, we've had great support with traction on community projects, allowing us to be able to connect more sections of trail. In partnership with the Friends of Fauna Flora State Trail, they have had volunteers donate over 342 hours of trail maintenance, so this has saved us quite a bit of staff time and effort. The Parks and Recreation Subcommittee has also been working on Phase 2 of Jonas Ridge. The project team has had a kickoff with staff and will be spending time on the property to do a site analysis, which includes wetland and architectural analysis. The existing structure, as you see in this picture, appears to be sound with some plans as to how to incorporate that into the property. The Roadhus Road Convenience Site, there's a little map to kind of give you some reference of where that is in the process of being kind of closing procedures by the time the new one is built in East Burke, opening spring of 2024. This is a unique property as it is a former landfill and a convenience site adjacent to Duke property on the lake. The county would like to work with a firm to conduct a highest best use analysis, which will guide site feasibility and decision making for future community use. This will really help us understand how to utilize this unique asset, and we will be able to guide decision making based on under your decisions and directions. We also conducted a mountain biking community survey. There has been interest from the mountain biking community to include diverse and expand opportunities for types of trails that we have in the county. So what we saw were 55% of the people that participated in this survey ride trails weekly. That's a lot of people outside using trails, mountain biking trails for after work or during the day recreation. 69% of these people stated that the difficulty and variety of the trail played an important or very important role in their decision of where they wanted to go biking. So utilizing some of this information and the feedback that we received, we are looking into potentially designing and building some more complicated and advanced mountain biking trails at Fauna Flora County Park and Reeve County Park. This will help us to meet a wider user group and potentially attract more tourism to our area. Now kind of bringing the attention more down into where we're headed in the future. This is just a reminder of what the Fauna Flora State Trail and Over Mountain Victory Trail schematic looks like for our county. The yellow or orange and white combined is the overlapping shared portion of the Over Mountain Victory and Fauna Flora State Trail, as well as the loop around the lake. In 2024, we're looking to undergo a RFQ, which is a request for qualifications, repair and expansion opportunity. We've got 1.7 miles of trails through the, through 1780 neighborhood. This is currently, portions of it are already designated as Over Mountain Victory National Historic Trail. However, this was built around 2005 and there are severe erosion issues and are in need of repair. The Property Owners Association granted the trail easement to the county in August of 2021 to maintain and operate. We have the opportunity to also continue in expanding the trail from the 1780 neighborhood through the enclave, which would be about 2.2 miles of expansion, taking us much closer to the McDowell County line. Taking the trail to the McDowell County line will also help us provide a little bit more energy and traction to our neighbors and continuing the trail into their community. We have the opportunity to also expand 2.3 miles on the other side of Canal Bridge through state park lands and through the Lake James Family Camping Resort and Marina. Our goal is to create this RFQ document through an internal review process, release for responses, and undergo contract negotiations by March. By April, we hope to return to the board to award a contract with a final scope of work so we can begin implementation of that in May. In a very similar process of the Fauna Flora County Park, we are currently have 44 parking spots. This is a really great, beautiful amenity that we have in Burke County. It has 4.7 miles of trail accessed directly from the parking lot, as well as 15+ mile trails in the vicinity. There are seasonal restrooms and the beautiful covered bridge feature that most people have seen pictures of. This is about 250 acres right here in this area, 131 transferred from Crescent Resources in 2014 and 119 leased from Crescent Resources.
I want you to dig a little deeper in the well on the Fauna Flora County Park. I want to know where we're at, what we're looking at, what the future holds for it, what has Duke done about their area, the deep launch access, and go a little bit further.
Yeah,
on.
we're going to do it.
Right.
Thank you. So what we'd like to do is, recognizing that we will have an increased amount of visitors once that deep water boat ramp is opened, which is anticipated in May of 2025. They've started clearing, as well as some survey tape has been placed in the area as well, but which will expand the road. And if I need to, I will ask some of my colleagues who are more familiar with that county park than I am. But because we do know that this will really bring in a lot more people to the area, we would like to undergo a very similar request for qualifications process to develop a master plan specifically for Fauna Flora County Park. This will allow us...
Which boat ramp is going to open in May of 25?
The Deepwater boat ramp.
Reduce deep water.
Yeah, so at the end of the roadway that's currently there, it's going to be expanded kind of straight on out. Right there. So we'd like to be able to do some land management, be able to take care of that space, incorporate it into a master plan, as well as undergo some community outreach so we can get some feedback from the community about the types of amenities that they would like to see in that area, as well as how can we grow, what do we feasibly have space for, what can we do with that area, and determine some of our funding eligibility for state and federal funding based on the projects we'd like to do there. There has been discussions of many different types of amenities there, between playgrounds, picnic areas, camping, all kinds of things have been included as potential opportunities, but we'd really like to undergo a master plan that reflects what the vision from the commissioners and the community have in mind. Through that process, that'll be the second half of 2024, June through August. Again, a very similar internal review, release for responses, and contract negotiation. Returning back to the board in August to award a contract with a final scope of work. So we can begin by September to start to have some of these amenities in place before May of 2025. 2025 and 2026 will be a pretty big couple of years for us. We'll be implementing all of those projects from the request for qualification documents, which will support the growth of the Fauna Flora State Trail and Over Mountain Victory State Trail into McDowell County, as well as connecting Lake James State Park. Patty's Creek land, which I did mention from Duke transfer, will allow us to expand with 2.4 miles of new trail. The Fauna Flora County Park Master Plan will incorporate infrastructure and features out there, as well as opportunities for community features at Linville Dam, adjacent to the Pocket Park planned by Duke. So kind of to put all of that in a perspective of the wide scape.
Oh.
Yeah.
question that most, I think we're asking the same thing.
I'm gonna let him ask it. 'cause
Pocket
it's the
Park.
same. Yeah.
Yeah, so that, we both started looking at each other.
Oh, yeah.
We're not familiar with exactly where and what that is going to be.
The term Pocket Park is just a miniature park that they have in mind by Duke. They've got it planned.
When did they tell us they had this in mind?
Oh, it's been part of their FERC relicensing agreement that they originally started over 8 years ago.
Is that the one by the dam?
Yes.
And there was going to be an overlook, maybe?
Yes, an
The
overlook.
Eagles,
The Eagles overlook, correct.
Okay,
yeah.
that's where we're talking.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
good. Yeah, we knew
Different
that.
terminology throughout different phases.
Greg, quit shaking your head.
Yeah. So that is the Paddy's Creek features. So that is the Duke Pocket Park will be in this area, as well as the opportunity for the county to put in that the Eagle's Nest, Eagle's Landing. It's had a couple different words used for it for that overlook opportunity over there.
Another question. I know we've been working on this for years, and I know it's been difficult on this section of the
Yes.
of the trail. Are we making progress on land acquisition? Because I know we've run into some difficulty trying to finish up, 8 miles, basically? Where do we stand on that?
Right now, we have had a bit of a pause on land acquisition. We are working with the Friends of Fauna Flora State Trail. They've got a different pot of funding specifically for land acquisition, and they've taken a list of our priorities and what we'd like to see purchased.
And do we see, have we located any more parking opportunities? Because I know that's been very difficult. It's a good problem to have, but we don't have enough parking up there.
We don't,
And I know
yeah.
Harris Whiston was great, but we were talking a half acre, 7 spaces.
It's small.
It's something, but have we located anything else that looks like it would be an attractive area to put in a decent amount of parking?
Yeah, the one of the big areas that we need to pay attention to is right here. That link by Canal Bridge. We have the opportunity to work with the state park to be able to build a parking lot on their land right there, or potentially to work with Duke to be able to build a parking lot on the other side of the bridge closer to Canal Bridge boat ramp. That would be a really important link for us to be able to close some space. We've got great parking at the top part up here. That's a really wonderful large parking lot, as well as Wolf Pit. But as we continue down into this lower part of the lake, parking is a priority for us as well to be able to include.
I don't think I quite understand what role 3FST is playing in the land acquisition, because I thought they had devoted most of their priority work to the McDowell side of the lake. Is that not true?
So their planning is on the McDowell side, but they do have separate pot of land specifically for land acquisition in Burke County. I think it's about $74,000 that
Are they going to purchase the land, or are we going to purchase the land?
they would purchase and then pass it to us. Yep. So again, to kind of give a little bit more perspective of the widespread work that we'll be doing, in 2024 to 2026, working on expanding the trail from the Over Mountain Victory Trail above 1780 neighborhood, as well as the Lake James Family Camping Resort and Marina. We aim to do cost sharing on Canal Bridge with the Friends of Fauna Flora and Over Mountain Victory. The county has already paid for a lot of the work that's been done through the engineers, and we're looking to do a third cost share with our partners to make sure that we are all contributing equally to that link. We'll be looking to do the park planning and infrastructure in 25 and 26, as well as the Paddy's Creek features in 25 through 26.
Sarah, how are we on, at this point, because we're going to eventually want this connected to the Morgan Greenway, so has there been any, I know we're concentrating on finishing the loop up there, but are we also in the planning process of acquiring land along the river there, which can prove to be difficult, I know.
Alan, do you have any updates on that?
Well, I think it's an ongoing effort to move past, back towards Morganton. But we talk to people all the time. We try to bring up the topic and see where we can make connections, where there's right-of-way for roadways and that sort of thing. I've even thought about, like, 126, is there enough right-of-way to just travel down the roadside until we got a better connection some other way. But I do believe Funnel Floor has worked to study like coming through Glen Alpin and then coming in that way, you know, several avenues to get back to town. So we really make that connection happen. So we might have several pieces working all the time, trying to make connections.
I hear a lot about what 3FSD is going to put in, what we're going to put in, what Overmountain's, what's the state going to put in now that we're a state trail?
The state is expecting to take care of the trail through the state parks, which is a big section.
Take care
To
in
build.
what manner?
To build and fund. There are portions within the state park. But, you know, that's piece by piece, you know, we need to look at it one section at a time is what we have to do. They're going to take care of the state park for sure. So we've got a lot of connections.
We've
there.
already got trail through the state park.
All right.
We've pretty much got the trail through the state park.
Oh, there's this large portion right here below Benfield's Landing.
Mhm.
That is state park all the way up around here. So they will be building about 2.5 miles of trail through
Okay.
there.
Yeah, that's an important connection.
And Trey told me this, I can't remember. How long is the bike trail at Reed Park that was being proposed?
The bike trail at Reed Park?
The bike trail at Reed Park, just, you had mentioned that. How far would that go?
Yeah, we're looking at about a 3-mile loop,
Okay.
and then tying it into the existing 1.5-mile loop. What we're trying to do is, I don't know if we'll tie it into that 1.5-mile loop because I want to try to keep the walkers separate from the bikers, because that trail's down there a little bit not as wide as a standard trail, so it gets kind of hairy when you're walking and biking at the same time. So we've got about 30-some acres across the Henry Fork River that's just not being utilized, so that's where our plans are to put the mountain biking trail, and they can access it through a parking lot we made around, so they don't even have to bother with the walkers will never see them. So about 3.5 miles, depending on what we got a lot of land there. We could put a lot. So that was our original plan.
Any more questions?
Any other questions for Sarah? All right, seeing here none. Sarah, thank you for your presentation. Alan, and this will remain on the agenda. Item 4, we have no scheduled public hearings this month. This will bring us to item number 5, consent agenda. First item will come from our clerk, appointments to the local emergency planning committee. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Happy New Year. This is a request to reappoint Sheriff Hinsman to seat number 2, Mike Willis, seat 4, and Jason Black, seat 14, to the LEPC for 3-year terms ending January 31st, 2027. It's a request to appoint Todd Staten to the LEPC, seat number 5, representing public health, also for a 3-year term ending January 31st, 2027. We are still looking for a member to fill seat number 11, which represents the media. That term is for a 3-year term ending January 31st, 2027. If we don't have anyone by the time agenda distribution rolls around, we'll just remove that and save that for another day. This is also a request to approve the addition of seat number 17, representing DSS, and to appoint Amy Patton to fill that term, also for a 3-year term ending January 31st, 2027.
Madam Clerk, any questions on this item? Okay, as I reviewed this, I see the addition of seat 17, but somewhere there I also saw that the bylaws only allow for 16 seats. Has that been taken care of? That paragraph right above there. The LEPC is
I
required.
think it
to have
has.
Mr. Willis can answer that.
I think it has.
Yes, sir, it has. I kept, without going back and looking at the date, we did come back and ask if we'd be able to expand that so that we can add more members than just the original 17 members that was on. So that was approved by y'all when we updated the bylaws last time.
All right, thank you, sir. Other questions?
Did Lisa Brooks not want to be reappointed to the team?
No.
Other questions? All right, see if there are none, this item will remain on the agenda. Item number 2, also from the clerk, changes to plat review officers for the town of Rutherford College.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. The town of Rutherford College has asked that we appoint Caitlin Smith as the new plat review officer for the town in the place instead of Daniel Odom. And the resolution in your packet does that.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Kay on this item? Hearing none, this item will remain on the agenda. Thank you, Kay. Item number 3 comes from the Fire Marshal, updates to the Emergency Operations Plan. Afternoon, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. When we adopted the plan originally, a lot of things have changed. We've got a new sheriff, new chairman of the board, new county manager, so we needed to update a lot of the names and references in the EOP. The only structural change, other than a few name changes, the way that the Strategic National Stockpile is implemented now, changed its role a little bit, so we noted that in ours it's more prevalent in the way it's described in the health department's emergency plans, but in our overall county plan it was a very minor change. It's just how it's implemented. Other than that, it's just an update so that we've got everything correct.
All right, thank you, Mike. I hope each one of you read all those pages in the emergency plan. I did have one question, Mike, on page I-21, where we're talking about media contacts for the area. Mm-hmm. It seems that all of the primary media is coming out of Charlotte. I wonder, should we not add WLOS out of Asheville?
We're more than happy to. Technically we're in the Charlotte market, so that's what we do, but we're happy to add that. Yes, sir.
Any other thoughts about that? Doesn't a lot of our people kind of listen? 13 out of Asheville, particularly on the western end.
I'd be happy to add that, sir.
Just a thought.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mike? All right. Hearing none, this item will remain on the agenda. Consent agenda. Item number 4 from the tax department. This comes from Linda Wilbur. Linda, afternoon. Tax collection report for December 2023.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, property tax amount collected to date, $43,558,321.85. Percent collected, 82.65%. Balance to collect, $9,141,255.15. Motor vehicle tax, amount collected, $2,745,713.01. Percent collected, 44.29%. Balance to collect, $3,454,286.99. Current year taxes, amount collected, $46,304,034.86. Percent collected, 78.62%. Balance to collect, $12,595,542.14. Delinquent taxes, amount collected year to date, $461,071.75. Percent collected, 68.87% collected. Balance to collect, $238,928.25. Penalty and interest amount collected, $161,029.27. Percent collected, 48.95%. Balance to collect, $167,970.73. And then down under total year property tax, amount collected, $43,558,328.85. 0.90% collected, and balance to collect $10,286,665.54.
All right, thank you, Linda. Any questions for Linda on this matter? Hearing none, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Item number 5, Tax Department release refund report.
Okay. Under NCVTS, report amount $19,940.69. Rebuild amount $3,684.53. Net release $16,256.16. And then the VTS refunds over $100. The refund amount was $157.
All right, any questions for Linda on this matter? All right, seeing here none, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
This brings us to item number 6, items for decision. First item comes from the Board of Commissioners, and gentlemen, I would ask you to consider a slight modification in our rules of procedure for the pre-agenda meeting. In discussions with the county manager, on occasion, not necessarily often, but on occasion, we have items that are time sensitive, and waiting an additional 2 weeks or even another month to deal with those can be problematic. In the past, we've dealt with this by calling special meetings, sometimes immediately following our pre-agenda meeting. But I believe it would be much easier if we just simply made it clear in our rules that at the discretion of the chair, we can act on an item, remembering that those items would come to you with advance notice, just like everything else on the agenda. And you would receive that, and obviously if for some reason something we couldn't act on, we could move it forward if need be. But this would just give us clear ability to act during this pre-agenda meeting if an item is considered to be time sensitive or waiting is detrimental to the county. So, any question about that? Everybody okay? All right. Thank you very much. So without objection, that item will remain on the agenda. Item number 2 from our manager, RFQ for the courthouse renovations. This is placeholder. Mr. Manager, you want to speak to that?
Sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board members, we continue to, at a staff level, try to implement your capital improvement plan that was originally reviewed back in April. The next project for consideration is in what we call courtroom or courthouse investment and decompression. As you're all well aware, and I know that you've all toured that building, originally built in 1976, its use has changed over time, and what is its biggest strength, which is its structural integrity, is also its biggest challenge, which is building adaptation. And as the use of the building has matured over time, the building hasn't kept up with that. So what we're proposing, and Mark Delahunt is here, who's leading this project, is to issue a design build RFQ that would partner the county with a design team and a contract firm to spend a fixed number that would ultimately try to elongate the useful life of that building for somewhere in the 7 to 10 year mark. We know at some point there's going to have to be more material investment made into that building, but you can see we outlined that as a short-term project in our capital improvement plan. Again, we're proposing this design build methodology primarily because we have a fixed budget. We have $1.1 million of state SCIF money from 2021 that's still there for allocation that came from the North Carolina General Assembly, and we have another $1 million that's federal grant through your capital improvement program. So no local dollars, but we have a very fixed $2.1 million budget. We've identified priorities working with both our resident superior and district court judges, the clerk of court, the sheriff's office, who, as you know, are responsible for court security, the district attorney's office. We've put together a fairly robust steering team. Again, as all of you have walked through the building and seen those challenges, and tried to ultimately give the priorities and a fixed budget to a design and construction team. And this methodology would allow them to develop the plan. We know logistically it's going to be a challenge. Anytime you're making improvements to a building that has required maintained use of operation, there's going to be hammers knocking and paint drying and drywall dust and those things. And we are as confident as we can be at this point that all of those stakeholders and partners are on board and supportive. We have a couple of conceptual ideas, but again, what we'll be prepared to bring back in 2 weeks, we have an RFQ that closes. Here you can just see a short timeline and what we're proposing to do. But within 2 weeks, I think our RFQ process closes on January the 8th. We've already had a building walkthrough with interested parties, so we know that there's some interest in the market. Mark and his team facilitated that over the break, and the RFQ closes on January the 8th. We'll then go through an interview process, quantitative, through a selection committee, and be prepared to make a recommendation on firm at that time for you all to consider in a couple of weeks. But short story, we're implementing the next project in the capital improvement plan, which will be an investment and decompression objective for the courthouse to elongate its use, funded through state and federal grants at this point, and we're excited to get this project underway. Mr. Chairman, questions?
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any questions on this item? All right, thank you very much. This brings us to item number 7, reports. Gentlemen, I remind you, if you've got other reports that you'd like to be sure that are included in our agenda, please get those to the clerk as soon as you can. I also remind everyone our county offices will be closed on Monday, January the 15th, in observance of the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. Other reminders: pick up trash, take care of our animals, spay and neuter. Having no other items for discussion, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to ask one question. Did we all get an invitation to the Martin Luther King dinner? Did everybody get one?
We did.
Okay. Are we required to pay for that cake?
No, and I was going to talk with each of you to confirm the number of tickets you need after the meeting.
Okay.
I'll take care of it.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn.
All right, thank you, Mr. Burns. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. That's all of us, Madam Clerk. Thank you very much.